It's finally here! On Friday, March 7th, Mauro Xavier's Patreon supporters were given access to version 0.8b of Final Fight for the Sega Mega Drive. The game is now fully completed, all stages are in place, and not only that, several brand new game modes have been added, one of which sees the addition of a familiar face to the roster of playable characters. Now, this isn't the absolute final build, but this is a finished version of the game which Patreon supporters can use to bug test and report back to Mauro. The public release that will be titled 0.9b will be coming in due course, with Mauro confirming that version 1.0 will only be released when he's sure that all bugs have been squashed. So, during our coverage of Final Fight MD, we've always shown the latest stage added to each new build, and with version 0.8b, only one stage remains, Stage 6, Uptown, and the final confrontation with Metro City's ultimate crime lord, the spear gun wielding Belger. Stage 6 is notorious for being absolutely insane, with a difficulty level that was designed to eat your coins. When Dan the Mega Driver and I completed Final Fight at Arcade Club in Bury, we were extremely grateful for the free play setting on the cabinet, because trust me, Stage 6 absolutely rinsed us. This was the stage that I suspected the Mega Drive would struggle with the most. After all, it contains wave after wave of relentless enemies, most of whom have projectile attacks in the form of knives and firebombs. But I'm delighted to say that Final Fight MD is incredibly faithful to the arcade version, even with the cutback in the number of enemies on screen at once. Mauro has found a way to make Final Fight MD's final stage feel every bit as challenging and unfair as the arcade original. Yes, I said unfair, and it's absolutely devilishly brilliant. The enemies in this final stage are relentless. They have ridiculously long energy bars, and there's a lot of them. From the moment the stage starts, you're treated to some lovely use of parallax scrolling to create depth on the streets leading up to Belger's building. The Mega Drive's colour palette has been put to sensational use, creating a look and feel that is incredibly faithful to the coin-op original. Sure, side by side with the arcade you'll see a difference, but Mauro has captured every little detail of the stages, the characters, their clothing and the overall environments within the game. All the challenges from the arcade version are present and correct in Stage 6, with rolling barrels and falling chandeliers galore. In terms of additional content, Mauro has packed an insane amount into Final Fight MD. First up is the Mega Final Fight mode, which allows players to select Maki from Final Fight 2 as a playable character. The Mega mode also makes slight gameplay tweaks as well as alterations to the boss music, although I did find Maki a bit hit and miss when it came to picking up weapons, namely pipes. She was fine with knives and swords though. The other two modes are Survival mode, which presents players with wave after wave of enemies with a final score given once all lives have run out. The second is Time Attack mode, which starts players off with a timer of 98 seconds that they must survive in order to clear the round. Both Survival mode and Time Attack mode feature two stages, selectable from the main menu. The first is the Metro City Bridge, which throws every single enemy type in the game at you. The second is Andor's Cage, which consists entirely of Andor and his family, and is easily the more difficult of the two. What Mauro has done here, along with the amazing team who supported him, which includes the legendary Master Linkway, is nothing short of phenomenal. The entire Final Fight arcade game running on the Sega Mega Drive with additional modes and superb performance. When I finished my playthrough, I was honoured to see the Sega guys in the end credits, along with the other YouTubers who have covered Final Fight MD during its development. We can't thank Mauro enough for putting his time and passion into delivering such a phenomenal version of Final Fight for the Mega Drive. From his own personal health battles to the struggles and disappointment at not being able to get Final Fight MD officially released, it's admirable how determined Mauro has been to get this game not only finished, but tweaked to perfection in both looks and feel. However, while I've covered Final Fight MD for most of its updates on the channel, it's only fair that Dan the Mega Driver gets to have his say on this absolutely brilliant homebrew release. So with that, it's over to Dan.
Well, it's finally here. After 2 years and no shortage of challenges along the way, the talented Mauro Xavier has finished his quest to bring a port of Final Fight to the Mega Drive. Almost. While this isn't the final or even the first full public version, this Patreon release does let you play the arcade classic on Sega's 16-bit icon from beginning to end. I remember back when this was first shown, many thought that this project wouldn't be completed. Yet here we are, all 3 characters, every stage, co-op gameplay intact, and more characters on screen than any other port to a 16-bit console. Playing through the final stages, I can't help but be astounded by the amazing work here. The visuals are excellent, and while the humble Mega Drive couldn't hope to fully replicate the arcade original, it comes closer than any other machine of the era. Sure, there's a bit of slowdown in these final levels when the action gets hectic, along with a bit of sprite flicker as well, but given that this port outshines others on platforms that came over 2 years later than the Mega Drive, hey, this is easily forgiven. Put side by side with the Mega CD port, you can see the closer adherence to the arcade game, from the higher contrast colours to the more accurate background details and even enemy and object placement. Not to mention that there's more enemies on screen at any one time on the Mega Drive version. On a small screen, the CD image may look softer and have more colour, but on a full screen, the CD port is played with a huge amount of dithering, making the bolder, more solid use of colour in the Mega Drive port not only more pleasing to the eye, but more arcade accurate. Obviously, load times are preferable in the MD version as well, and while the Mega Drive audio could never match the majesty of the CD arranged soundtrack, it is, once again, closer to the arcade original, because arcade accuracy is the order of the day here. Everything is crafted to get as close to that pure and uncensored arcade experience as possible, and Mauro has very much succeeded right down to the excellent rendition of the game's arcade soundtrack, courtesy of collaborator Edmo Caldes. But don't just expect an arcade port here. Even after playing the earlier builds, I was still impressed by the wealth of extras and options on offer here. James has spoken before about time attack and survival modes, but now we also have Mega Mode, which makes a number of changes and adds Mackie to the playable lineup. James will have already gone into the details of Mega Mode itself, but suffice to say, it's an excellent inclusion, and adding Mackie to the proceedings does that little bit extra to make this 35-year-old game feel like it's brand new again. And of course, it plays absolutely brilliantly. It's the classic Final Fight gameplay replicated to near perfection on Mega Drive and Genesis consoles. Slowdown aside, I had no issues at all with how it played, and after my first roll of the credit screen, I went back thirsty for more. Final Fight MD is an absolute triumph, one of the best homebrew ports on the platform, which is high praise indeed given the abundance of incredible fan projects on the Mega Drive. Not only that, but for my money, it's the best port of Final Fight on any system. Yes, I even think it's better than the Double Impact version on Xbox 360 and PS3. As I said, I couldn't find any faults at all when I was playing the game, so cannot imagine that a public release is far away. Now I'm just waiting for the day that me and the Segaholic can get together side by side and play this port in co-op, much like we did at Arcade Club with the original arcade machine, because this version of Final Fight has all the magic of the original, and then some.
So there we have it, guys. Final Fight MD is finished, and soon you too will be able to take down Metro City's scum and rescue Jessica on your Sega Mega Drive console. If you've made it to the end, I hope you've enjoyed this look at the game. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you on the Sega side.